What if the key to passing on your faith wasn't in grand gestures or forced lessons, but in small, daily rhythms? If you're rethinking how spiritual formation actually happens in a family, you're going to appreciate this. Rule of life. Build a rhythm that points your kids to Jesus. Let's build habits that build our kids and families. Hey, I'm Steve, missionary with FamilyLife Canada and creator of Family Rhythm. And around here, we're about building rhythms and habits that point our kids and families to Jesus. In the first video of this current series, we talked about developing the habit of learning and living out the one story in our families. Make sure you go back and watch one story if you missed it. This series is focused on the first part of the Family Rhythm Circle about right relationship. In this video, we're going to explore how having a rule of life aids us as we cultivate this. And it starts with focus. Hebrews 12 verses 1 and 2 talks about this race of faith. It says, "Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus." Focus. Fix your eyes on this greater purpose, even in your family mess. So when I started parenting, I wasn't looking for hacks. I was looking for a way of thinking. My question was, how do I pass on my faith to my kids? Not just rules, not just good behavior. I wanted our home to reflect grace and truth in the day-to-day stuff, to feel the wonder of being a part of God's big story. As a former children's pastor, I love storytelling and creative ideas. But as a dad, I also knew the daily messes. And so that meant modeling my faith, not just talking about it. In the early years, especially, parents have massive modeling influence as kids watch and grow. So it's less about lessons and more about mores, or not so much formal instruction, but rather our habits, stories, and way of life that shapes faith. And for me, that's where the idea of intentional rhythms started to come in. The way we live every day tells our kids what we truly value. So I want to introduce to you a concept called the rule of life. It's an ancient Christian idea dating back to the 4th century. A rule of life. No, we're not talking about rules like don't run in the house. It's about creating a rhythm, a pattern of spiritual life that keeps us centered on Jesus. You know, sometimes we just need a reinforcing boost. A rule of life is a schedule and set of practices and relational rhythms that help us create space to be with Jesus, become like Jesus, and do what Jesus did. That's from Practicing the Way, a group that's done some great work on this. So think of it like scaffolding or a trellis for your family's spiritual growth, like for holding up grapes in a vineyard or the tomatoes my wife is growing in our backyard. It's not restrictive, it's supportive strength. It's structured to boost your maturity journey. The rhythm that a good rule establishes helps us maintain our spiritual focus. And that's from Simon Chan, author of Spiritual Theology. One of my favorite illustrations that Simon highlights is the story of the tortoise and the hare. You know it. The hare bursts with energy, but loses focus. The tortoise, slow and steady, wins with consistent rhythm. A rule of life is like that. It helps us keep going. And remember, a good rule can set us free to be our true and best selves. That's from Margaret Gunther. So here's your habit for this week. Create a rule of life as a family. You know, you can start small. Choose one rhythm this week. You don't have to have it all mastered, right? But start asking some questions, maybe pick one. When will we read scripture together? Can we sing or worship as a family? What's our Sunday rhythm? Can we use meal times to grow? What will we do with our bedtimes to end the day with Jesus? Don't think of it as you have to get it perfect. It's a working draft, not a rule book. It's about aligning your focus and just continually recalling it. It's not about getting it perfectly right. One example from our family is around meal times. So we usually gather for dinner. That's the first challenge. But we usually have a devotional book on hand that we can grab and either read from before we eat or sometimes during. We'll also ask for our powwows, those moments in the day where something encouraging, interesting happened, or where something very difficult maybe may have happened. And so this just gets the conversation going. So maybe we would write a rule of life around meal times. It might go something like this. We'll spend time connecting with each other and with God with a short reading and with intentional conversation. Hey, I trust this helps move your family in a better direction this week. If you want to learn more about this rule of life concept, you can grab a free workbook from Practicing the Way. If you go to their website, I'll link it in the description. You can go deeper in that. And if you'd like someone to walk through this with you, we're here to walk you through this, to talk you through this. You can connect with me at the links in the description. Now, I want you to comment down below what's one new habit or guiding rule your family might try this week. All right. At Family Life Canada, we're eager to share Jesus' help and hope with families like yours. May you know the rhythms of God's peace, wisdom, and wonder in your home today. Keep building those habits. They matter more than you think. See you next time.